Hey, leave a like or Obama eats Joe Byron. Am I a jerk for backing out of making my sister-in-law's wedding dress? I'm a 20-year-old female seamstress and dress designer who primarily works on commission for private clients. 2 years ago, I designed and created my sister's wedding dress as a gift, and I also made all the bridesmaid dresses at the cost of raw materials. At that time, my brother's girlfriend, now his fiance, was one of the bridesmaids, and she knew about this. She casually asked me if I would make her wedding dress for her and my brother's upcoming wedding, and I agreed. However, once I began the work, things took an unexpected turn. While designing for my sister and her bridesmaids was a pleasant experience, working with my brother's fiance became quite challenging. She constantly requested changes even after we finalized the designs, and I had already started creating the dresses. She would cancel fittings and complain about the dress looking tacky and unprofessional. To make matters worse, she intentionally damaged the fabric when I refused to make additional changes, leaving me to scramble to find more of the same fabric in the right color. 2 weeks ago, my brother proposed, and his fiance immediately approached me to discuss designing her wedding dress. With my experience in handling bridezillas and control freaks, I suggested a consultation at my studio. During her appointment last week, I presented her with pricing and various options, which led to a heated argument. She became angry, stating it wasn't fair to charge her since we were family, and she pointed out that I'd made dresses for others in the family for free. I kindly explained that, like any other vendor, I charge for my work and offered an affordable package. She lost her temper, hurling insults at me, claiming my work wasn't up to her standards, and that she was doing me a favor by letting me design her dress. As the argument escalated, she damaged my property, knocking over a display case and shattering glass, beads, and expensive jewelry. At this point, I had to ask her to leave my studio, or I'd call the police. Later that day, my brother called, angrily confronting me for being unwelcoming to his fiancée. I explained that I'm more than willing to create her gown and the bridesmaids' dresses at a fair price. However, he insisted that since I'd done work for our sisters for free, I should do the same for his fiancée. Now, my parents and brother are furious and are threatening to exclude me from the wedding if I don't make her dress for free. But I still firmly believe I should be paid for my work. Am I a jerk? My advice on the situation. In this situation, you are absolutely not the jerk. You have demonstrated immense generosity by creating wedding attire for your sister and other family members for free. However, that doesn't obligate you to provide your services for free to everyone, especially when the client's behavior is disrespectful and unreasonable. Your profession is your livelihood, and it's essential to be treated as a professional by your clients, regardless of their relation to you. The demands made by your brother's fiancée were excessive and her behavior inexcusable. It's entirely reasonable for you to set boundaries and expect fair compensation for your work. Every client should be treated fairly, and your family should respect and understand the value of your skills and time. Don't let anyone guilt trip you into compromising your professional standards or underestimating your worth. Stand up for your professional integrity and the importance of being compensated for your work. Let's move on to our next story. Am I a jerk for not wanting to be the primary caregiver to my alcoholic mother-in-law? I, a 53-year-old female, have been married to Joe, a 55-year-old male, for almost 30 years. Joe's mother, Winnie, is 79. Winnie has heavily abused alcohol and prescription drugs for most of her adult life, and it has escalated significantly over the past 20 years. When she's under the influence, Winnie becomes verbally abusive. She has gone to great lengths to hide her addiction from her family doctor. I've tried addressing this issue with my husband Joe and his family in the past, but those discussions never went well. Joe's siblings have told me to stay out of it, which made it quite challenging, so I've kept my distance on many occasions. The entire immediate family has consistently swept the issue under the carpet. No one has ever taken my concerns seriously until 2 weeks ago, when my mother-in-law, Winnie, had a bad fall and was taken to the hospital. Initially, they attempted to cover up her drinking and prescription misuse, but my husband, Joe, decided to come clean. He informed the ER doctor and even spoke to Winnie's family doctor, who expressed gratitude and ordered numerous medical tests. Now, everyone is deeply worried about her, but there's a clear need for a caregiver, and no one wants to step up. The suggestion has been made that I become the caregiver since I'm not currently working, though I'm actively looking for a job. Joe's family proposed that I live with Winnie from Monday to Friday, and then go home on the weekends for a break. They also plan to arrange for a personal support worker, PSW, to be with her on the weekends. I firmly declined that proposal, explaining that it's not possible for me. I told them they need to work out a schedule amongst themselves. Thankfully, Joe supported my decision. I'm simply not emotionally equipped to uproot my life and become the primary caregiver for someone who has been abusive toward me. Am I a jerk? My advice on the situation. Here's my advice. It's evident that Winnie's addiction and abusive behavior have been ignored for far too long. The family's refusal to address this issue and their sudden expectation for you to shoulder the entire caregiving burden is not fair. Being the primary caregiver for an abusive alcoholic is emotionally and mentally taxing. It's completely reasonable for you to decline this role and prioritize your own well-being. The support from your husband, Joe, is crucial, and it's commendable that he's on your side. Keep the lines of communication open with him and the rest of the family to find a more balanced caregiving solution. Your focus on your job search and personal life is entirely valid, as you have your own responsibilities and needs to consider. The family needs to confront their long-standing problem and collectively address it. You're not the jerk in this situation, and standing up for your well-being is a perfectly reasonable choice. Communication is definitely key, and that can't be said enough when talking about our next story. Am I a jerk for telling my sister-in-law she's the reason her kids don't get invited to anything? So I, 43 years old, have a son, 13 years old, who's in the 7th grade now. My husband's sister, my sister-in-law, Kelly, in her 40s, also has 2 twin boys, 12 years old. All 3 of our boys are in the same grade at the same school. My son is very kind and overall an extroverted kid who's involved in lots of extracurricular activities, so he has been making lots of new friends and is getting invited to a lot of the other boys' events and whatnot. To put it bluntly, Kelly's sons are obnoxious and entitled. This is because of her behavior. She's absolutely obsessed with them and has no life outside of being a helicopter parent. For example, one of my nephews had a crush on a girl at school, and when the girl's mom jokingly brought it up to Kelly, she freaked out, saying the girl is kinda weird. So her son obviously wouldn't have a crush on a girl like that. Who bullies a 12-year-old girl or her mother? She has raised her boys to think they're above all the other kids, and they definitely act that way, even towards my own son, their cousin. Naturally, her boys are not getting invited to much, and a lot of the mom groups of the boys in their grade aren't including her. So she has just been inviting herself to events she hears of with the boys. Last week, there was a birthday party for a girl in our kiddos class that Kelly's sons weren't invited to, but she just dropped them off at the birthday party and left without even checking in with the birthday girl's family. The girl's mom called me, asking me to speak to Kelly because a lot of the moms are absolutely sick of her inviting herself and her boys to things. So when I talked to her, she immediately flipped the script, calling me an enabler of the other mom's exclusion and bullying towards her and her boys, basically accusing me of having an agenda to make her boys seem like losers for not being invited so that my son has more friends. I just told her that if her kids are losers, it's because she raised them to be entitled and mean, and it reflects directly from how she treats the other mothers. Now my mother-in-law is calling me, saying I should be vouching for my nephews to join my son's friend group because of family and all that. So am I a jerk? Advice on the situation. Here's my advice on the situation. In this scenario, emotions seem to be running high, and it's crucial to approach it with empathy and understanding. While it might be tempting to point fingers and assign blame, the priority should be addressing the behavior and fostering positive change. It's evident that Kelly's parenting style and her kids' entitlement are causing problems, but it's more constructive to focus on helping her understand the impact of her actions, rather than resorting to name-calling. Open communication, perhaps with the help of a neutral third party, can go a long way in addressing the issues and finding solutions. As for your role, it's essential to support your nephews and encourage positive relationships, but also ensure your son's well-being is not compromised. Family dynamics can be complex, but a balanced approach that values both family connections and healthy friendships is ideal. Am I a jerk for telling my best friend that she is wrong to want to cut her boyfriend's child out of their life? My best friend of nearly 25 years started seeing a married man a couple of years ago. His relationship with his ex-wife was apparently over, and he was contemplating separation when my friend and him started seeing each other. Now, while my friend and him were dating, he got his wife pregnant. Again, he, being the victim, said that his wife seduced him when he brought up divorce, and he had a moment of weakness. The wife refused to abort, and he made her leave after learning about the pregnancy, and had no involvement throughout the pregnancy. He was not even there for the birth of his child. His family attempted to see the child months after she was born, but his ex-wife refused. My friend has struggled with the news of the pregnancy, but at the same time chose to stay by him. One day she told me that she has categorically instructed him to pay off the ex-wife and child in a one-time settlement in the divorce, and not have any contact with the child in the future. It is pertinent to mention here that I am a single mother myself going through a horrific divorce and custody battle. It is perhaps due to my personal experience. I advise my best friend to keep an open mind about her boyfriend's child, because he may have a change of heart and want to get to know his child, or the child may want to know her father, or even need him at some point. Our country especially isn't exactly rosy for single mothers, and even in this day and age, father's name, signatures are asked for almost everywhere. I don't expect my friend to step into the role of a supermom. I just asked her to not shut herself out to the idea of this child being in her life at some point. This proved to be such a turning point in our friendship that she has now come to the conclusion that she can no longer be friends with me because I am unsupportive, and I made her feel judged and guilty. I have always given this boyfriend the benefit of doubt. And even though I had my reservations about this guy, I have always been supportive of her relationship because she seems happy and in love with him. Am I really the jerk she's made me out to be for telling her she shouldn't shut the door completely between her boyfriend and his child? Advice on the situation. Here's my advice on the situation. This is undoubtedly a complex and emotionally charged scenario. It's essential to acknowledge that everyone involved is facing challenging circumstances. Your concern for the well-being of your best friend and her boyfriend's child is understandable. You come from a place of personal experience as a single mother, and your advice reflects that. However, it's crucial to recognize that your friend is also navigating a difficult situation. Her decision to cut ties between her boyfriend and his child may stem from her own set of emotions and fears. It's a highly sensitive matter, and it's not uncommon for people to react strongly when confronted with such dilemmas. In this case, it's important to maintain open and empathetic communication with your best friend. Express your perspective and concerns, but do so in a non-judgmental and understanding manner. While your intentions may be rooted in what you believe is best, remember that individuals involved in complex relationships often need time and support to make decisions. Ultimately, it's her choice on how to navigate this challenging situation, and your role as a friend is to be there for her, even if you disagree with her choices. Exciting things are coming on our channel. Subscribe and hit the notification bell so you don't miss out. Am I a jerk for telling my daughter she's free to leave if she hates her stepmom so much? My daughter is 20 years old and in college. She has a dorm on campus but doesn't live there. I love my daughter, but she can be quite a handful. Drama seems to follow her everywhere, and I had hoped she would outgrow it, but it never happened. Due to this, she has gone through multiple friend groups, and as she puts it, they are jealous, so she doesn't have college friends. I got married when she turned 18, and I was never married before. Her bio mom wasn't in the picture. This was an adjustment, but I want to make it clear I took the right steps. I introduced them when I was serious, 2 years in. I spent more time with her, didn't force them together. We established boundaries for my wife, like punishment coming to me, not her. When she was struggling, I got her into therapy and did sessions with her. She stopped when she hit 18 since I can't make her go. My daughter is making it impossible for them to get along. If my wife tells her food is ready, she gets upset that she's bothering her. If she doesn't tell her, she gets upset that she wasn't invited. It's a never-ending cycle of contradictions. I've talked to her and my wife has tried to do what she asked, but then she gets upset about that too. It's become impossible. Now to the main issue, my wife's birthday was yesterday. I set out her presents and cake on the table, but I had to leave for work. When I came back, all her presents were opened, and my daughter was eating a piece of cake. I asked her why she would do that, and she told me my wife doesn't deserve birthday presents. This is when I'd had enough and told her if she hates her stepmom so much, she can leave. I mentioned that she has a dorm, and I don't want to see her until she apologizes to me and my wife. She started crying and called me a jerk. I've been receiving a lot of texts from her, and I'm doubting my decision. Advice on the situation. My advice on the situation is this. While you may have reached a breaking point, it's essential to handle the situation with sensitivity and understanding. It's evident that there's a lot of tension between your daughter and your wife, and that can be challenging for everyone. While you've taken steps to introduce your wife into your daughter's life and provide therapy when needed, it's vital to remember that she's still quite young and may have unresolved feelings. Instead of telling her to leave, consider having a calm and open conversation with her to understand her emotions and frustrations. Encourage her to express herself, and together, look for compromises or solutions to improve the relationship between her and your wife. Keeping communication open and finding common ground is key to resolving this issue and maintaining a healthy family dynamic. Let's proceed to our last video. Am I the jerk for refusing to baby-proof the house and lock my cats outside during a Christmas party? Christmas is just around the corner, and my workplace is buzzing with excitement about our annual Christmas party. Since our company is on the smaller side, my house was suggested as the perfect venue for the event. My backyard boasts a beautiful pool, and I recently invested in a barbecue grill. When asked, I agreed to host the party, but I had two simple conditions. It would be an adult-only gathering, and we'd be enjoying a classic barbecue with prawns and other usual meaty delights. Any meat lover's dream. Everyone was on board with these conditions, and some even requested separate prawn cooking to accommodate allergies, which I happily agreed to. A coworker of mine had just returned from maternity leave after 6 months and was eager to attend the party. She sent an email to our group asking if she could bring her 3 children along. I replied to the email, reiterating my hosting conditions. She was far from pleased. Over the past few days, she's been rallying support from our colleagues, including our boss, to persuade me to allow her children to attend. My boss asked me to be more flexible, taking into consideration her recent return and her oldest child's restlessness. My coworker also requested baby-proofing the house and requested that I lock my cats outside, due to her allergies. She argued that if we all paid extra attention to the kids, everything would be fine. I firmly declined, stating that I wouldn't baby-proof my house and would never lock my cats outside. I emphasized that the party was meant to be an adult-only affair, and that alcohol, hot barbecues, and an unsupervised pool made it an unsuitable environment for children. I made it clear that if anyone had reservations about my conditions, they were more than welcome to host the party at their own place. My coworker left my boss's office in tears. Now, my boss has sent out an email to reassess the situation, seeking alternative hosts. I wasn't included in that email and only found out through a coworker. I've chosen not to respond, while people have been discussing the issue over email without my involvement. My coworker attempted to show me her baby, but I politely asked her to leave my table since I'm not particularly fond of children. She took offense and left for the day. Consequently, her workload has fallen on the rest of us, as she's been coming and going at her own discretion due to her child. Here's my advice on the situation. When hosting an event, it's crucial to set clear expectations and boundaries, and it's equally important to stick to them. In this case, you were upfront about your conditions from the start, and it's reasonable to stand your ground. While flexibility is generally a positive trait, you shouldn't feel pressured to change your party plans to accommodate someone else's preferences. It's vital to ensure that everyone attending the party is comfortable with the arrangements and respects your hosting conditions. If the issue remains unresolved, it might be worth considering alternative party locations to prevent further tensions and maintain a harmonious office atmosphere. Ultimately, the decision should be made with the best interests of both the hosts and guests in mind. Thank you for being a part of the Gracie Stories community. Your support means the world to us, and we can't wait to share more exciting adventures with you. Stay tuned.